we've all talked about how people are changing, the workforce is changing, how demands are changing. We'll talk a little bit more about motivating and managing the workforce. I'm pleased to introduce on stage Mr. Vipul Anand, Group CIO, Hindware Group, and an X100 jury to speak on the topic, motivating and managing the millennial workforce. Please welcome him on stage.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Indeed, it is my proud privilege to be here, not only as a jury member, but also as a speaker in this prestigious Next 100 award ceremony. Before I start, I would like to compliment Mr. Kanak Ghosh, Mr. Vikas Gupta, Mr. R. Giridhar, Mr. Shamanujan Das, and team 9.9 Media for putting up such a prestigious event year after year. The topic assigned to me is motivating and managing millennial workforce. And I take a clue from my previous speaker where he mentioned that you are the guys who have to lead the tech. And he also mentioned that you are the guys, after leading the tech, you have to lead your organization, your industry, your community, and so on and so forth. With my background of 28 plus years of experience, both domestic and international, I have learned many lessons in my career. And some of those lessons we display when we work as jury members in these awards and events. And one of the most important thing which has come up is to learn from the past. So before we start talking about the millennials, just about 40 days later, we will be moving on from year 2018 to the year 2019. So let's give a thought, what all happened in our IT industry when we are managing our IT setups for our organizations, what happened in our organizations, what happened in our community in the year 2018. Each and every sentence which I read out, you have to correlate with your own organization, with your own scenario, and see how it worked with you. First important thing is the external forces compelled the companies to respond more aggressively. The companies has to risk falling behind the successful execution and bold strategies with which they were successful for so many years. All of us stayed alarmed to understand the scope and magnitude of the challenges which are coming in our hands. And companies had to keep on investing heavily in dreaming big to respond to the external pressures, to the customer demands, and in bringing in new technologies into your organization to create new markets, to create new revenue streams. And therefore, what came out was having a very strong customer experience and a digital transformation roadmap for your organization, and that brought a lot of changes to leaders like you and me and us. So what comes out in year 2018? The first and important thing is the CX performance remained flat. We used to talk about customer experience, but it remained flat. That's what the Forrester is also telling about. More than 50% of the digital transformation events which were happening across the countries, they were stalled. The speed was very slow. This is not me talking, this is Forrester talking. Although some progressive CIOs, they drove changes, most of the CIOs, they struggled to compel their organization see and act differently. Some of the reasons behind why it happened are as follows. There was a lack of organizational readiness in our country. Underestimation of the real work needed to overcome technical issues was another challenge. Poor data governance, lack of sound strategies, and lack of execution cohesiveness, and fear of failure. And more importantly, why it happened was lack of a right resource, whether it is in your own team or it is in your outsourced team, in your internal, external teams. The resources were lacking which could have helped you to execute the dreams which you are having. So this was the reality in 2018. How do we manage 2019, which is just 40 days from now? My suggestion is, first of all, you have to look forward the transformation in a different manner. You have to handle the foundational challenges in your own way, suiting your organization, whether it is organizational readiness, whether it is technical issues, whether it is data governance, whether it is aging brands to create more durable, potent foundation in your organization, because the CX will continue to remain under fire, digital will go surgical, purpose regains meaning, CMOs will rebrand themselves, CIOs will take the wins. This is the bold and underlined statement. You have to come forward and take the lead in your organizations to be successful. If you are not able to do this, you will not remain a successful CIO in your organization or in your community. The zero trust statement which we are talking is going to be very strong. Everyone will ask about the security issues when you bring in any new solution. And in the manufacturing segment specifically, robots are going to change the entire talent management flavor which we are talking about. So what do? We have to change the fundamentals right, and we have to bring the right resources. Now, while we do this, how do we manage? Because we have a workforce, technology is no more a challenge. How do we handle technology is a challenge. And to handle technology, you need to have the right workforce. And to have the right workforce, you have to have a mixture of the old, the middle, and the new age, which we call millennials. Moving on, I would like to take you to a video, after which we will continue our conversation. Please pay attention to this video, where we are talking about these new millennials which are coming in our industry.
I have yet to give a speech or have a meeting where somebody doesn't ask me the millennial question.
What's the millennial question?
Apparently, millennials as a generation, which is a group of people who were born approximately 1984 and after, are tough to manage. And they're accused of being entitled and narcissistic, and self-interested, unfocused, lazy. But entitled is the big one. And because they confound leadership so much, what's happening is leaders are asking the millennials, what do you want? And millennials are saying, we want to work in a place with purpose, love that. We want to make an impact, whatever that means. We want free food and beanbags. And so somebody articulates some sort of purpose, there's lots of free food and there's beanbags, and yet for some reason, they're still not happy. And that's because they're missing, there's a missing piece. What I've learned is that I can break it down into 4 pieces, right? There are four things, 4 characteristics. One is parenting, the other one is technology, the third is impatience, and the fourth is environment. The generation that we call the millennials, too many of them grew up subject to, not my words, failed parenting strategies. Where, for example, they were told that they were special all the time. They were told that they could have anything they want in life, just because they want it. Some of them got into honors classes, not because they deserved it, but because their parents complained. And some of them got A's, not because they earned them, but because the teachers didn't want to deal with the parents. Some kids got participation medals. They got a medal for coming in last, right? Which the science we know is pretty clear, which is it devalues the medal and the reward for those who actually work hard. And that actually makes the person who comes in last feel embarrassed because they know they didn't deserve it. So it actually makes them feel worse, right? So you take this group of people and they graduate school and they get a job and they're thrust into the real world, and in an instant they find out they're not special, their moms can't get them a promotion, that you get nothing for coming in last, and by the way, you can't just have it because you want it. And in an instant, their entire self-image is shattered. And so you have an entire generation that's growing up with lower self-esteem than previous generations. The other problem, to compound it, is we're growing up in a Facebook, Instagram world. In other words, we're good at putting filters on things. We're good at showing people that life is amazing even though I'm depressed. And so everybody sounds tough, and everybody sounds like they got it all figured out. And the reality is there's very little toughness, and most people don't have it figured out. And so when the more senior people say, well, what should we do? They sound like, this is what you got to do. And they have no clue. Right? So you have an entire...
Well, this is about the millennials which we have. This is a long video, so I thought I'll just put the initial part. But what do you do in your organization to manage them? The simplest way is you don't induct millennials. You don't induct new workforce because IT is a very confidential department, IT is a tech-savvy department, IT runs the organization, and therefore there is no need of the new people. The old-timers which are there in the organization are sufficient enough because they have been managing your IT setup for so many years. This is the concept which we Indians are having. But if you continue with this concept as a CIO, you are a next 100 award winner now. As a decision maker, if you continue with this concept, you are bound to fail. Nobody will appreciate you because these old timers will not be able to adopt new technologies, will not be able to bring up innovation and ideas and experimentation and so on. So therefore, what you do, you bring in new people, your HR comes to you and you work together and bring new people. When you bring new people, again there is a big challenge because you are not able to balance both the parts. Both the parts is the old timers and the new ones. And what happens in most of the Indian organizations is ITs are run through shadow ITs also. Your own marketing department, your own finance department, your own logistics department would be having a separate IT within the organization, and they rule the world. The Gupta-jis and Sharma-jis of the organization, they overrule the decisions which you have to make. So therefore, how do we be successful as a CIO? So some of the mantras which I talked about, you have to follow in the year 2018, and some of the things which you have to ensure while handling this millennial workforce, because this millennial workforce will then do wonders for you. Look at their background. The background, as the video told, is they have got a very solid parenting. Those of you who have got kids at home, how many times do you ensure that your kids get annoyed because of one of your decisions? Every time you have to ensure that your kids are happy and you take decisions which are favorable to them. This is called the current age parenting. The technology, the environment in which our kids have grown was not the environment in which probably you were grown or in which we were grown. The impatience we used to wait for a cycle to come when we will achieve 60% plus marks in our graduation or in our high schools or inter, and then the father will give you a bicycle. Here there is no patience. He wants an iPhone and he wants an iPhone X and he wants all the new apps in his phone and so on and so forth. And look at the environment. The decision is not taken in the malls, the decision is taken online. And so on and so forth. This is the environment in which these millennials, they graduate, and there are thousands and thousands of graduates which are coming out from various universities in this country and who need to be absorbed in the industries which are owned by you and us. Most of them do not comply to the norms and they go back to the society and do some business. But many of them, they are lucky, they get inducted in your and our organizations. And when they get inducted, it is our duty to make them successful. That's why, what do we do? Let's talk about what are our needs. In the industry, what are our needs? As CIO, what is your need from that employee, from that millennial? First is, you expect that he should be loyal. Look at the other end. The guy is never loyal. You and me would have worked for umpteen years in an organization because we were loyal, but he will not be loyal. He'll look for a few months and then move on. So you have to ensure that in these many months, you get the best out of him or her. The long-term commitment is absolutely missing. I remember when I used to work for a company called Honda, I continuously worked for 10 years. And then one fine day when I peeped outside the window, the world was glorious. But the Honda emblem which was there on my shirt was more glorious. That's the reason I was staying there for 10 years. That kind of commitment, that kind of loyalty is missing today. Speedy execution and onus of the work assigned is what you expect. You do not get it from them. Learn and execute is which you expect. They will give you many, many things for you to do a homework. In one of the interview, at an entry-level executive, there is a joke also on WhatsApp. The person asked, what do you know about computers? And he said, well, I know how to use Facebook, how to use Excel, how to use this and that. The real programming sense which is there in the candidature was missing. adopt to your processes and policies. You expect that he should come and adopt to your organization's processes and policies. He will allow you to change the processes and policies because of him and her. This is what is happening in the industry, and you have to lead the world being a CIO. How do you do it? There are many ways of handling this, and personally speaking, I have been quite successful in leading the millennial workforce. When I used to work for Aditya Birla Group, I was awarded on this. And then when I came to Jindal Group, we used to induct every year some 50 odd fresh engineers from the college, because India is rich. India is rich in terms of having a low-cost profile people, English-speaking, laborious, logical, analytical thinking. You have to get the right choice, you induct them, and then groom them in an effective manner, and then they will do wonders for you. Some of the experiences which I want to mention in these 20 minutes are, you have to regularly tell these millennial workforce why, what, when. If you don't tell them what is their mission, why they are there with you, what they are supposed to do, when they are supposed to do, they will lead a different life. They will not get aligned with you and your workforce. So which includes your mission, your vision, your targets. And once you have spelled this out, you have to ask their opinion. It counts a lot. Because they will at times absorb what you are saying, but many times they will not absorb what they are saying. They will come with a fresh thought. That's called the innovation mindset. That's called the different mindset in the new age. So it's very important for you to listen, to ask for their opinion. What do they have to say about your way of working, your organization way of working, your style of executing a particular task. Once you have understood that, please appreciate their opinion and then allow them to do the innovation, to do the experimentation, and allow them to fail also. In our careers, we used to have, and many of us still have, a fear of failure. That fear of failure has gone out from our industry. It has gone out internationally, globally. It is going slowly out from our country. So you have to experiment. Many times we take a decision, oh, this is a big decision of a server system or a firewall or a data center. I was the CIO who took the decision, and here comes the cloud. Why should I change my decision from the on-premise to the cloud? Is the fear of failure. So therefore, what you have to do is to allow them to do this innovation, to allow them to experiment, to allow them to fail, and you be behind them. Think about your career. Your boss was never behind you. You were alone when you were executing. Your team was probably never behind you when you were executing the things. But now is the age, 2019 onwards, 18 onwards, at least till 2021 according to predictions, that people have to be behind the millennial workforce because you have to follow their path. Next important thing is find ways how you and your company can give them back. These millennials are thirsty about the output, thirsty about the remuneration, thirsty about the appreciation, thirsty about you taking them out to some resort and appreciate them what they have done. Do that, it will help you a lot. Encourage face-to-face interaction. Many times we sit in our cabins and we do not interact with our workforce, whether it is millennial workforce or other workforce. That hat has to go. You have to interact face-to-face with these people, and then only they will be effective. These were some of the suggestions where I am naming, the heading is do this. But look at the next part of the slide. I am naming it as must do this. You must do this. What is the first thing? Make teamwork part of your work culture. Those of you who want to work in isolation, want to be IT heads, or the next 100 winners, or the CIOs, you yourself, and go back and say, I was the winner because of my deeds, you are following a wrong path. You are a winner because of your team. I am standing here on this stage because of the strong team which I have, because of the motivation which my management, my organizations have given for me to execute the things. The second important thing is take advantage of their electronic legacy. If I have to install an app on my phone and I am unable to do that, I should be very frank to ask their help. And likewise, it happens. This morning itself, I took a decision in my office where we had to create a web link. There is a recently announced government notification that you have to pay the MSME vendors in maximum these many days. So out of the thousands of vendors which you have in your vendor master database, how do you identify how many are MSMEs and so on and so forth? I was discussing with my team and I said, I want this change to be implemented immediately. Here comes a millennial, he said, sir, can I develop an app? You have a strong SAP platform. Everyone was expecting in that meeting that we will give a solution on SAP. Here comes this millennial, he said, sir, I will develop an app where the vendor will be able to view his vendor master details. There will be fields mandatory. He will be able to edit those fields, update those fields. Then I will also give you an upload feature that he can upload his MSME certification, PAN card, Aadhaar card, this card, incorporation card. It goes to purchase, they approve it on the app. It goes to accounts, they approve it on the app. It comes to IT, we approve it. It goes to SAP. All I want is a SAP API. Can you help me with one of my team member who can help with the SAP API? This morning. I said, why not? I said, what is the lead time, gentlemen? You will be surprised at the lead time. He said, sir, I will try and do it in 3 days. Look at the speed of the millennial workforce. Can you expect this from any big force? From any tier 2, tier 3 SAP developers? From your own teams? Because of the strong willingness to do, because of the backing up of their superiors, because of the teamwork, because of the electronic legacy which they have, their mindset is different. Imagine a situation, how happy will be my users, my finance, my purchase, my CFO, my management, when we put up this app and we comply to the government notification, not in 3 days, maybe in max 7 days. This is because of the millennial workforce. Imagine a situation we get it done from the conventional way, where person will create a FSD, the functional specification document, then he will do something, then there will be a testing, then there will be some code testing, then there will be some database optimization, then this UAT, go live and all, it will become a 3 months project. So you have to embrace the technology, you have to embrace the millennials with all these use cases in your organization, focus on results, allow telecommuting or working remotely. Gone are the days when we used to put biometric machines and we used to say, oh, 9:30 is the time when you have to enter and 6:30 is the time when you can exit. Now you have to allow them to work from home. You have to allow them to telecommute because the Facebook app, the WhatsApp app, and all those portals which are available are there with them to execute. Thank you so much for having listened to me, and it was my proud privilege to be with you this afternoon. Thank you.